Today Phil is around with his 2017 300 EXC, and we're going to be changing the stock Mikuni carburetor to a Keihin plus STIC metering block. So to change out the carburetor, the easiest way of doing it is to remove the silencer and then remove the lower subframe bolts and flip up the subframe. Then you have plenty of room to swap out the carburetor. So we've loosened the hose clamps, so I'm going to remove the Mikuni. So one of the reasons Phil was keen to try the Keihin plus STIC is the Mikuni, sometimes it ran well, but other times not, so it wasn't very consistent. So on my bike, the Keihin plus STIC has been super consistent. Every ride I've done, I've never had a bad run with it, so I'm expecting the 300 to perform in a similar way. So Phil's going to be fitting a Keihin 38mm air striker carb fitted with a STIC metering block. Here you can see the STIC metering block fitted in the Keihin air striker. We've jetted it with a 182 main jet and a 50 pilot jet. And the needle we're using is a Yamaha needle. It's a N3EJ, and you can see the part number there, and we're using it in the third clip position. And here's a summary of the jetting settings we're using. Okay, we're now ready to install the Keihin. The only modification I made is the cap. And in another video I made showing the mods I made to my Keihin, I showed in detail the mod, but it's basically to reduce the height of this part of the cap by 2.5 millimeters to increase the throttle cable slack. So we're going to be using the standard KTM throttle cable, and doing this mod allows for the slack to be in spec. So we're now ready to install the Keihin, and we're going to put a little bit of thread Loctite 243 on the thread of the throttle cable. Not really to hold it in place, but to seal out water from getting inside the cap. So I think that's a good idea. Okay, so when you're installing the slide, make sure the collar, the white collar, slides down over the nut that secures the needle in. Otherwise the throttle cable can come loose from the slide. When you install the cap on, make sure the gasket is in the cap before you install it. Otherwise you can get air leaks. Okay, then we can drop the subframe down. Put the air boots on. Yeah. Snug. And the subframe bolts, you want to apply some thread lock to them. But I typically find that when you take the subframe bolts out, they have a lot of excess thread lock on. So it's a very good idea to clean that off before you reinstall them. I use a thread chaser to clean them off. So you just need to run the bolt in and out of the thread chaser, and it cleans it off nicely. And we've applied some Loctite 243 to the bolts for the subframe. And then we're torquing the subframe bolts to 35 Newton meters. And then when you've secured the subframe, snug up the hose clamps. You don't want to get them over tight, but you certainly want them secure. And you want to check that the slide moves fully in the carburetor. So, especially when you release it, make sure it closes fully. One install tip with the fuel line is the Mikuni has an 8mm fuel inlet diameter and the Keihin is 7mm. So I found using the original fuel line is it's a little bit large and you get leaks. So I recommend getting some 7mm internal diameter line, and I found the ideal length is 155mm. Okay, that's the install of the Keihin and stick complete. We're going to start it up and adjust the idle and also the air screw. So we just set the idle and the air screw is 2.5 turns out from fully closed and it seems to be running pretty well. We'll do the final adjustments when we go riding off-road tomorrow.
How's it going?
Beautifully, yeah. Doesn't stall coming downhill.
Yeah.
It's consistent the whole time.
Yeah.
Instant power. There's just so much more usable torque.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you're slowing down, like on the Mikuni, when you slow down, it ding, ding, ding.
Pipe bang.
Yeah. It's just quite annoying. This one's very smooth off.
Yeah.
What I really love about it is all this sticky stuff. You just go into really quite high gear and just keep lugging it. There's no lag.
Yeah.
It comes straight on. Since it was new and we put the RK head and the reeds and the JD jetting,
Yeah.
it ran really nicely that day. But since it just hasn't been consistent, so you don't know what you're going to get when you turn up on a Sunday.
Yeah.
I'm going to monitor this one well.
Yeah. Well, my 250's been super consistent. I've never had an off day.
I know. That one, because I had to go on yours. See, mine was really struggling on bottom end.
Yeah.
And it's because if you know, like with a thumper, you get they're very consistent every single week.
Yeah.
You know exactly what's coming out of the engine, no matter where you are. Now I just found them with the old carburetor. You just don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
So you come out of a corner, so you know the corner you're coming. You know you've got to have a good handful as you get round there. You get in there and you open it up, and then nothing happens.
Yeah.
It's just like a handbrake on.
Yeah.
This one today, it's acting beautifully. I mean, there's a few of the hills that we've never made before. It's no drier than normal, is it?
No.
It's just sailing up them.
Yep. Cool. Let's go ride some more.
Yeah. What happened there?